Welcome back to Gun Totin' Minnesotan. Today I'm going to take a look at the product sent out to my channel by Oneleaf. This is their NV200. It's a night vision as well as daytime use pair of binoculars that have digital zoom up to 20x and can film in 4K. Very, very cool item. It comes with a laser rangefinder in the model that I have, as well as a few extras in the bag. And if you want to see more of what comes with this product, you can go to oneleaf.ai and see what other goodies come in the bag. But I'm going to focus in this review on the way that you might actually use it, which would be daytime and nighttime use, a little bit of magnification and zoom, digital zoom, and then just standard use for hunting or maybe target practice, bird watching, perhaps just some of the regular uses you would use a pair of binoculars. But this one, of course, has some extra features, just like you're seeing right here, where you can use it in the dead of night, in the blackest night, and still get some really cool images of things maybe around your house, your farm, or maybe in your hunting situation to read the landscape and see what's around you. Very, very cool. Happy to have this product out to the channel. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a lot of use footage and we'll come back and wrap it up at the end. All right, we're looking at the moon right now on 16x. You can definitely see some of the features. It's whited out on one side. With a naked eye, I can see a little bit more of the shadows and craters on the white spot, the part that's kind of bleached out for you. I'm going to back off a little bit slowly here. There's about 9.5. Not that anybody's using this to look at the moon. I'm just giving you an idea of how much power is 20x. And the moon is pretty far away. And up to, there's 20x. And let's just slightly navigate over. You can see a little bit of craters, a little bit of the design there. It's just too much mag though. It's not going to be able to handle that. So I'm going to back it off to about 14. Again, right there. Now let's drop it down to, let's see, I drop it down to 0. Alright, there's 0, and I'm just going to look at this tree. That tree right there, if I can get her in focus a little cleaner. Let's see, right about there. And now let's try to magnify a little bit on that tree. That tree, from where I'm at right now, is, I would say, about 90 yards away. Image does get darker. Leaves get a little more pixelated, of course. And then up to 20. Let's back it off to about 14 and see how that looks again. So there's 13. Pretty usable. I would say you could definitely record your hunts with this. If you're shooting inside of 100 yards, you'd be almost guaranteed to have a usable image right there. And now on the tripod here, I'm going to loosen up the neck completely and just kind of move it around. There's about 30 yards. Image is just slightly saturated, I would say. And it is sundown right now. Alright, taking a look at a house about 75 yards away. I'm going to go out of focus here. I am mounted on a tripod to try to steady up. I'm going to show you that there is a nice degree of focus. There you go, that looks pretty tight and clear. Not a bad image at 75 yards. Let's go ahead and try to magnify it one more time. Okay, that's 12x. Pretty blown out at 19, 17, 14. Let's go to 10. There's 10. 10 seems to be pretty functional. And if I go through the actual brightness settings now, okay, there's a little brighter. You can see in front of me, it's pretty bright. Again, that's 75, 80 yards away. Fully bright, I think. There. A little brighter even. And back to regular. This is probably your bottom level here. There is not much detail in this very dark corner. I'm going to go ahead and add some levels, higher levels of IR. There's a first one, and that really blows it up. At 30 yards, it's very, very bright, and it just revealed that it's a little out of focus. Let me go ahead and focus that right about there. Now at 30 yards, let's see what magnification what happens with a low magnification. There's 2. I've got a KYL rack there, a little mini silhouette. There's 7. There's 11. There's 13. And 16 on that little mini silhouette. 18, pretty much not usable. Not usable range right about there. Let's go back to 10. There's 10. I think that's usable. I think I can make out enough detail. I'm going to go ahead and throw a little more IR down there, just see what happens when I brighten up that image. A little more, a little more, a little more. That's pretty bright. Let's back off on the magnification. Again, we're looking at about 30 yards. Yeah, that's quite bright. It's almost a little too bright for what we're looking at. And I will go back down to the bottom again. Almost nothing. And there you go. There's the first setting. I think that's a pretty nice image right there at 30 yards. Very usable. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Too much. Okay. The laser. This is what it looks like to have the laser activated in there. And if you try to magnify with a laser there, maybe you're trying to identify a critter for someone. If you're in a hunting party and you're trying to tell them right where you see something hide in the grass, maybe a coyote or a rabbit hiding in the grass, or a rabbit or a rat rather hiding, and you need your friend to shoot it. This is one way you could identify its location. If you have multiple people using night vision, I do use the Oneleaf night vision optic that I've previously reviewed on the channel, and this would be a great pair. I could go and scan an area like this until I saw the varmint or the thing I wanted to shoot, and then I could use my rifle scope after that, which doesn't have as wide of a field of view. But there's that laser. I'm going to turn that off now, and we'll just go like that, and now it's off. We're back to our image. I do like it zoomed a little bit, but I really tend to not go beyond 5 or 6 in my personal use at any given distance. Alright, here's an example of hand holding versus the tripod. Just not as steady. I'm going to try to bounce around the yard here at different distances and see how quickly I can adjust that focus as if I was in a hunting scenario. And again, there's no magnification right now or assist on the digital magnification. Let's go the other way. Okay, you can focus in pretty close. And a little further, 15 yards, and then back out to 30 yards. It's going to be bouncy. It's not going to be super steady. But as far as actually using it to see things, like animals, critters, yeah, I think that would work for me. Let's see, let's go a little further in another direction here. Try to focus across the road there. That street sign. It's a little tricky. It's a two-handed operation to focus this and move it around, to double wield that, because it doesn't autofocus. You're manually focusing the lens. And it's a good thing it has straps, I'll say that. Alright, so there's a daytime setting. Try to focus it down there on those trees. And now, let's switch over to night mode. And let's add some different levels of IR. It's pretty far. And there's, yeah, that was the extent. So right here, you can see it growing maybe 50 yards ahead of me pretty efficiently. And try to zoom in again. Thirteen's just going to be too much. 7 seems doable. And back down to 0. Alright, now we're pointed at 105 yards. I'm going to clear up that image a little bit. And let's zoom in. Again, about 105 yards. There's 5 power, 5 meg. Let's go up to 10. And I'm going to adjust a little bit lower. And let's focus it a little better. So that's 10. And now let's push it up to 15 and see what we get. There's 15. I think that's usable. 15 seems usable. It's a very, very bright sunny day today. I expected to have some trouble with mirage or something. And moving up to, let's go right up to 20. There's 20. Obviously it's cooking. It's hot out. I can still see some impacts. It's a little blurry. I think I prefer, even in the daylight, backing it off a little bit, maybe more like 17 power. I think 17 looks still pretty good in the daylight at 104 yards on a very, very hot day. Let's go over to 200 yards. Just going to change the point of aim here, and then we'll get it focused in. So a little blinded out. It's going to take that sensor a moment to recalibrate. You can kind of see it did its job there. A little recalibrated, and now I need to focus a little better. Not bad. Okay, that's not too bad at all. Yep, I could see hits on steel at 200 yards. And the color trueness is, I would say, it's okay. I think it's a little saturated. Image is just a little saturated, perhaps, but aside from that, I think it's pretty usable, and it would record what I was hoping for it to record. Let me go ahead and throw a couple rounds down there on that target, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, 3 rounds loaded up. Looking at 200 yards, almost exactly. Some 300 blackout. 2.5 mils is going to be my hold, more than likely. There it is. There it is. Couple impacts. Now I'll go ahead and back off magnification a little bit here. The zoom, I should say. And that's the image that I get at 200 yards. Back up. We'll try to go all the way up to 20x and see what it looks like. Okay, let's try to focus that a little bit. Okay, so that's the image you're going to have at 200 yards with 20x. Backing off a little bit. 13 power. It's really nice and clear. I think it can handle that. The sensor seems to do well. Again, recording at 4K, 30 frames per second. All right, just giving you a little peek at what I'm actually seeing through the screen here. I think you can see everything that I can see. Yep, looks good. And so you have your menu option right there. There's your menu option. Movie mode. You can see I'm filming in 4K at 30 FPS. You can take different sized still images. Right now I have it at 8. Changing your PIP for on or off. I usually leave mine off, actually. A lot of people seem to like that feature, but I prefer just to leave it off. Then you have your lens selection using a 50mm at night right now. And the unit, which is for the ranging, which I've put in yards. You have your movie clip time. I have mine limited around 2 minutes just in case I forget to turn it off. Auto record is like if you want to have your unit immediately start recording as soon as you turn it on. So in a hunting scenario, that actually would be a big deal. There is a little bit of a delay to the startup. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but if you needed an immediate recording, this is kind of a feature that you would have to address, is turning on auto record so it immediately starts recording. You can adjust your LCD brightness and things of that nature. And on top of the unit itself are the arrows, and it gives you a forward and backward arrow. It's the same buttons as magnify or retracting, and that's how you're going to go up and down. You can see exposure, stamp, sound record, format, clock settings, formatting your SD card again, the version of the card, resetting. All the things that you are going to need are going to be present in this menu. I do think it's a good menu. I think it makes sense, and it's really not that hard to navigate or change settings on, which I appreciate very much. When I press OK, it starts to record, or it'll take a picture if that's what I choose to do. Right now, I'm going to show you what happens when you hold down the IR button. So I switched over to daytime, and I'm kind of impressed. It's actually picking out that much light because there isn't much light out right now. There's just barely a little on the road from the moonlight. But now I'm going to switch back to a proper setting. And typically, as you can see there with that note, in the night vision setting, you take off that lens cover. And then in a daylight setting, you put it on. And right now I have it off. The daylight setting, I typically would just go ahead and put it back on. Then you have your laser. So if you can actually see that laser right there, it's at the center of the screen, and I'm going to try to move it around a little bit for you. Right there. There's the laser. Put it on the tree. One thing that could be really helpful for is possibly like in a scenario where you're hunting and you're trying to tell your friend, maybe you're spotting with this pair of binoculars, which would be probably my intended use for this in the future is coyote hunting. If I'm scanning a field with a friend and I see a coyote pop out, I can put that laser right on them out to probably a couple hundred yards, it looks like so far in my testing. I can put that laser on them and my friend can suddenly see that exact same critter or whatever it is. I'm just laughing because I've had a skunk running around here today and the cat's going after him. That's not going to end well. But you can, as you can see right here, I'll lock the camera for a second to focus. As you can see here, you can turn it on and off relatively quickly. There's on and there's off, and it does show up pretty nice and clear, both to the naked eye, but then also in the camera setting, I can pick it out real clearly. What I'm pointed at, what I'm aiming at, and I just think there's a lot of features where you would actually use them on this pair of binoculars. I appreciate that. That is one feature I truly would use, especially in a hunting scenario, just to give a person an idea where I'm looking at, where they should aim at, or where a critter is coming. Now, speaking of that LCD, some of the information you see there is you have your time clock on the bottom. On the left, you have battery indication on the right, and tells you which mode you're in as well. Up I have 4K 30 FPS, that designation up there in the blue, and then on the top right you can just barely make out there probably that I'm shooting in IR. And speaking of IR, I'm going to run through those buttons for you real quick here. for how much cast is being sent out. So there's more, and I'm looking at a target that is, I'd say it's a little close. I'm going to see if I can get it just a little bit more in focus. Yeah, I'd say right about there is about peak focus for that. And obviously that's way too much illumination. I turn it up higher and higher, which typically would be for further and further. I do have a lot of moonlight right now. And there's back to the most basic setting right there. Not much, but it does a real nice job right there. I probably could use one more click if I wanted to at about twice the distance, but this close I tend not to need much at all. All right, starting off in the center, you have your on and off button right here, the power button. This is actually the microphone, and I would say this has a pretty decent microphone. I was impressed with the audio quality that was produced with this. Overall, this is not a bad microphone, and if you're using it on a hunt to maybe get a little conversation or the shot and some audio from the surrounding area, it is a good local microphone. This right here is double function. Actually, all the buttons are basically double function. This right here is a directional arrow for your menu, and then it's also to zoom in more, and then this is to zoom out. It's also a directional arrow for your menu, and when you click this in the menu settings, it's okay, but it also shows you that you can either change between picture settings or video settings right there. So double function. You have your IR settings here, daylight or nighttime, picture in a picture, as well as the laser. That's what that other symbol is right there, the laser for targeting images or helping people, get their eyes to the same spot. That's very useful. I really like that this comes with that laser, and the adjustments for that are pretty functional. Then you have your menu and play button if you're going to use playback and watch your footage to see what you've just recorded. Very, very good. Here is the rangefinder, and then you have your lenses, which can be removed as well. If you look on the side here, this is actually your electronics port. So you have your SD disk location there to take out your SD. There's an insert if you want to use headphones, and then let's see, a couple other media, as well as the charging right there. That's a Type-C charging. I'm very glad it's a Type-C. That's what I prefer. And a really thick rubber cover that's going to do a nice job of resisting the elements and slightly insulating this in colder temperatures. The actual hand pad here, this is kind of a pleather leather feel, but it feels pretty comfortable, and this does weigh a little bit, and so it's nice that it comes with this neoprene neck lanyard, and this is a very, very nice neck lanyard. This is something I would actually use on a regular basis. And in fact, I have. Every time I've taken this out, I've left the lanyard on as of recent, because this is very comfortable for when I'm walking around and carrying this. And I hardly even know it's there, even though it does have some weight, because this is just very comfortable around the neck and has two sides. It's a two-sided deal. Attaches through the loops right there. As you can see here, you have your two different lenses, and it's going to tell you in the screen when you're looking through that if you need to switch between daylight or night setting, you're going to either add or remove this cap right here. And so that's just a reducer. For daytime, I would put it in, and then nighttime, I take it off. Just like that. And it tells you some information about the lens. And remember, these are actually removable lenses as well. Pretty cool. I've added a Sunway Photo Picatinny, an Arca plate underneath, so that I can mount this on tripods. It does have the 1/4 inch thread in there, so any Arca plate that you have should 1/4 inch right into that. That's a nice standard size, and I appreciate it very much. This right here, again, this is the rangefinder, and that actually has a mounting unit underneath. It's hard to see from here, but it mounts up in here. A couple things I wanted to throw out. I had a really good experience with this product overall, even though magnification-wise I wasn't going to use the full amount of digital power there. 20x is too much. I was still enjoying the image around 10x, and I thought it was usable in a lot of applications, especially at nighttime. It was doing the trick for me out to about 100, maybe 150 yards, and that's really the furthest that I need night vision. I'm not going to go much further than that, and if I do, I might look at something more like thermal. So I was pretty happy with the product and the way it performed, and it's just really a cool idea of something to have around the house, around the farm, or take with you on a trip and just kind of see what's around. And then also it has a daytime application. So I think that's the coolest part about it. It's not limited. It's not a one-trick pony. And price-wise, I'm going to tell you guys, night vision has come down quite a bit. It's pretty impressive what you can get away with nowadays for, under $500. And these are going to be able to be found on Amazon. If you order it from Oneleaf directly, they actually ship really, really fast as well. And so I want to encourage you again, check out oneleaf.ai. They have a lot of other products. And in fact, I have reviewed other products from them as well. You could check out my channel for more of that, or head over to Amazon right now if you want to buy these.